Hi there, I'm Lindy. 11 years ago, I was erased from my own family without a word. No goodbye, no explanation. Tonight, I showed up at my sister's birthday, uninvited. No one recognized me, not even my own mother. They called me a guest. But what they didn't know was that the tech Jody claimed to invent, that was mine. The tuition they paid for her, they stole it from me. They told everyone I walked away. But what if I never had a choice? I hadn't been on this porch in over a decade, but the sound of gravel under my heels still felt the same. I stepped out of the car, holding my breath longer than I meant to, clutching the invitation like it might disappear. My name wasn't on it. Well, not in the sender's line. Wesley invited me, not Jody. That said everything. The Langley estate hadn't changed. White pillars, brick steps, the scent of freshly clipped boxwood hedges. I ran my fingers down the front of my black coat before walking up. 11 years. That's how long it had been since I was erased. Wesley greeted me at the front door with his signature half-smile and a warm hug, one of the few who hadn't taken a side when everything imploded years ago. "Madeline, it means a lot that you're here," he said, like he actually meant it. He didn't know what he'd stirred up. I stepped inside, and it hit me all at once. The music, the scent of candles, the sound of clinking glasses, and the sea of unfamiliar but somehow familiar faces. They were the same doctors, colleagues, old family friends, just older, grayer. I spotted my mother first, Darla Langley, hair perfectly coiffed, face tight with just the right balance of southern charm and frost. Her eyes skimmed past me. For a second, I wasn't sure if she'd pretend not to know me or pretend I wasn't standing there. "Wesley's brilliant guest," she finally said to a pair of doctors standing nearby. "She's done something with tech." She didn't say my name, definitely didn't say my daughter. I felt my jaw clench, but I nodded and played along. I'd had 11 years to prepare for this. I wasn't here to get her approval. I was here to be seen. I walked further in and saw Boyd, my father, near the fireplace. He didn't even try to hide his disapproval. Just gave me that look, the one that said, "Don't make this about you." As if this house, this night, this family had ever been about anyone but Jody. A slideshow looped across a giant screen. Jody as a toddler, Jody graduating med school, Jody in a lab coat, posing like she invented something. Then came the family photos. I braced myself, and there it was. One photo, taken on our old front porch, cropped. My arm was still in it, but I wasn't. I caught whispers behind me. "She looks familiar. Isn't that the CEO of NeuroSentinel?" I didn't turn. I didn't flinch. I just walked to the bar and ordered sparkling water. From the other side of the room, I watched Jody. She glowed under the chandelier, laughing like she'd earned every bit of this night. Polished, untouchable, false. They didn't know who I was, not yet. But they would. I left the main hall quietly, my glass still cold in hand, condensation trailing down my fingers. I needed a pause from the performance, theirs, not mine. Off to the side was the private lounge, where the noise dulled into a soft hum. From here, I could see the party continuing like a well-rehearsed play, but I knew every line in their script, and every lie behind it. A cluster of guests near the fireplace were gushing about Jody's so-called Harvard-grade algorithm. I nearly laughed. That tech was born in a corner booth of a 24-hour diner, scribbled across napkins while I waited tables and pulled double shifts at urgent care. They'd only ever seen the polished product, never the grime behind it. I stared at the flames for a moment too long, then turned away before the memory swallowed me. That's when I noticed Wesley across the room, talking to a caterer and fumbling with his phone. A guest had asked to borrow it. He waved over Darla and took hers from her clutch instead. His thumb scrolled through her contacts casually until he froze. I could tell by the way his brow dipped, then lifted. Something on the screen caught him off guard. His head tilted slightly. That's when I knew. He'd seen it. He leaned toward the hallway and whispered, "Why would she label someone spam caller?" with a note saying, "Do not answer, manipulative?" The guest beside him laughed awkwardly. "Probably her ex-hairdresser." Wesley didn't laugh. I took another sip, letting the burn of citrus fizz remind me I was still here, still present. My heart didn't race. I'd come prepared for this moment, whether it happened tonight or not. He glanced at me, not a glare, not curiosity, just thought. Like a man realizing the pieces of a puzzle had been shoved together by force, and something never quite fit. I held his gaze, calm, steady. Let him keep wondering. The lounge grew quiet again, but my mind didn't. It drifted, back to the last voicemail I left for my mother. 11 years ago. I had called to wish Jody a happy birthday. My voice was shaking then, still naive enough to hope kindness mattered. I pictured Darla hearing that message, sitting in her car, frozen, then without a blink pressing delete, like it was junk mail. Like I was never lost. I didn't disappear. I kept calling until they decided I didn't exist. He doesn't know it yet, but he's holding the first crack in their perfect facade. As the music softened and the lights dimmed, a voice from the DJ booth called everyone's attention to the center of the room. Ladies and gentlemen, a special moment now. Please welcome the woman we're all here to celebrate, Jody Russo. Applause swelled, glasses clinked. I stayed near the buffet, my back to the wall, half-shadowed. My drink was untouched. Jody stepped forward, glowing in a pale blue dress that hugged her like a PR campaign. Wesley stood beside her, smiling, though not as easily as before. Darla and Boyd stood front and center, wearing faces sculpted for admiration. I'm honored to share something close to my heart tonight, Jody began, tapping the clicker in her hand. Something I've developed over the last few years. Project NeuroSync. I didn't blink. I didn't move. I just listened. She clicked to a slide titled Empowering Recovery Through Real-Time Neural Monitoring, the exact phrase I used at the National Health Summit 2 years ago, word for word. The visuals were different, shinier, but the foundation? Mine. When I designed NeuroSync, she said, looking directly at the crowd, I wanted to make healing not just faster, but smarter, safer, more humane. The room murmured with approval. Boyd nodded like he'd raised a genius. Darla pressed her hand to her chest, eyes misting. I kept my expression blank, but inside it was roaring. She didn't just steal lines, she stole language, the language I bled for while working night shifts and sneaking textbooks into supply closets. She hijacked my journey, stitched it to her smile, and wrapped it in a bow for applause. Across the room, I caught Wesley watching me, his head tilted slightly. Doubt flickered behind his eyes, like a match trying to catch. She didn't just take my money, I thought. She took my years, my voice, and now they're clapping for her. Then it happened. Barely a whisper, but enough. Didn't Lindy Chamberlain pioneer this concept? A doctor muttered to his colleague. Jody flinched, just slightly. She tapped the clicker fast, switching to a diagram. I saw it. Wesley saw it. She didn't expect anyone to remember me. She'd counted on my silence, my absence. But now I was standing right here. I built a solution to save lives. They used it to erase mine. I slipped out through the French doors onto the back patio, the chill of early spring brushing my skin like a warning. The laughter and clinking glasses faded behind me, replaced by the softer rustle of trees and a string quartet playing faintly from hidden speakers. I needed the distance. I needed to breathe. Then I saw them. Reuben standing near the edge of the lawn, and next to him, Silas, wearing his favorite Spider-Man hoodie, hands deep in his cargo pockets like he was guarding treasure. He spotted me and took off in a sprint, his sneakers thumping lightly on the stone tiles. "Mom!" he shouted, leaping into my arms. I crouched to hug him, the weight of his tiny body grounding me in the only truth that mattered. "You made it," I whispered, holding on tighter than I needed to. "Dad said we should wait until after the science show." He grinned, clearly unaware of what had just gone down inside. Reuben walked over, eyes searching mine. No words, just quiet support, as always. As Silas bounced around the patio, a familiar voice drifted closer. "Cute kid." Wesley. I hadn't seen him come out. He was holding a glass of red, his tie loosened, that same look from earlier still ghosting across his face. Silas pointed past him toward the hall. "That's my Aunt Jody, Mommy showed me her picture once. Wesley blinked. Aunt? Silas nodded proudly. Yup, she went to Stanford just like Mommy. But she didn't finish, right, Mom? The silence that followed was instant, like the air had been sucked out of the night. I stood frozen, my smile tight. Reuben's hand slipped onto my shoulder. Wesley's gaze never left me. Behind him, two guests paused mid-sip. Wait, Jody said she was an only child, one whispered. Didn't she say she developed neurosync alone? Another added, voice sharp with realization. The space between Wesley and me shrank, not physically, but in truth. He didn't ask a single question. He didn't need to. The timeline, the tech, the lie, it was unraveling faster than anyone could stop it. I looked down at Silas, who had already wandered to the edge of the koi pond, humming to himself, completely unaware that his innocent words had just sliced through a decade of deceit. The truth has a funny way of slipping past the gatekeepers, especially when it's wearing Spider-Man sneakers. I slipped through the patio doors into the side hall, letting the heavier silence wrap around me like armor. The hum of conversation was still alive in the distance, but out here it felt quieter, almost manageable. Almost. A shadow peeled away from the wallpapered wall. Boyd. You just couldn't help yourself, could you? He hissed, voice low but heavy with heat. Had to make tonight about you, again. I didn't answer. Not yet. He stepped closer. You left this family a mess. You bailed. Now you're back to throw grenades at your sister's life? My jaw tightened. I left? I said slowly. That's your version, huh? He crossed his arms, smug. You couldn't handle pressure. College broke you. We tried. No, you didn't. My voice didn't rise, but the weight behind it cracked something in him. You emptied my college fund without telling me. You sent it to Jody's account. You told me to be grateful she was doing something worthwhile. Then, when I asked why my tuition bounced and my housing got pulled, you locked the front door and said I didn't belong under your roof anymore? That's not how— You put my bags on the porch, Dad. Darla's heels clicked into the hallway like an alarm. Not here, she said through gritted teeth. People can hear. Good, I shot back. Maybe they should. They've heard your version for 11 years. Let them hear mine for once. Darla looked rattled. Boyd scoffed and stepped in again. You always were dramatic. And you always needed control, I said calmly. Guess what? You lost it. Wesley passed the corridor just then. He didn't stop, but he didn't look away either. He heard. Boyd leaned in, his tone quieter now, sharper. Whatever you think you're doing, it won't stick. You're still the one who left. I tilted my head. If you're so sure I walked out, why does it scare you every time I walk back in? I left Boyd standing in the hallway with his teeth clenched and hands balled into fists, Darla tugging at his sleeve like he was a live wire. I didn't rush. I walked slow, steady, through the house like I belonged. Because I did. 15 minutes later, I stood at the center of the dining room. Guests sipped wine nearby, casting glances our way, pretending not to listen. The antique chandelier above hummed quietly. Boyd was at the far end of the room now, shoulders squared like he was ready for another round. Darla stood beside him, tense, lips pursed into something between regret and rehearsal. I placed a manila envelope on the table in front of me. This, I said, voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass, is from Redwood State University, the official letter that terminated my enrollment, dated fall semester 2013. I pulled the second page free, unfolded it. And this, I held it up, is a wire transfer receipt, August 14th, the same year. The full amount of my tuition, moved from my education trust to a new account, in Jody's name, authorized by my father. The room stopped breathing. Boyd let out a bitter laugh. That's fiction. You can print anything nowadays. You think I photoshopped a bank's transfer record? I raised an eyebrow. You think a state university forged my cancellation? Darla stepped forward, desperate. Lindy, this isn't the time. No, Mom. The time was 11 years ago, the moment I asked where my tuition went and you handed me a suitcase instead of an answer. I felt a presence behind me. Reuben, silent, steady. She's not here to fight, he said, placing a hand gently on my back. She's here because she has nothing left to lose but the truth. Wesley stepped from the edge of the crowd. May I? I nodded and handed him the documents. He read them silently. No one moved. That envelope weighed less than a pound, but it held a decade of silence, sacrifice, and stolen chances. And I wasn't letting go of it this time. Guests were starting to drift back into the main room after dessert, chatter rising like nothing had happened. But something had. Something that couldn't be undone. Wesley moved with a quiet purpose. I stayed back near the fireplace, watching as he walked to Jody, who stood beneath the chandelier like she was still the center of the universe. Jody, he said, loud enough for those near the hors d'oeuvres to hear, where did you say you studied neurosync again? She blinked. I told you already. It was part of an independent study in residency. He nodded slowly, pulling his phone from his pocket. Right. And you said you developed the predictive model yourself. Her smile didn't falter, yet. Yes, from scratch, you know that. He typed, tapped, scrolled. Funny, he said, eyes on the screen. Because I just searched neurosync predictive modeling, and guess whose name popped up first? He turned the screen toward the group gathering nearby. Lindy Chamberlain, published white paper, 2021. He read a paragraph aloud. These exact words were in your speech, Jody. A ripple went through the crowd. A doctor turned to another. That paper won at Northwestern. She was the keynote. Another voice. Wait, didn't Jody always say she never had siblings? Jody's mouth opened, but no sound came. We collaborated, she finally blurted. Years ago. It was joint work. Wesley shook his head. No, you said she vanished. You said she dropped out and cut all ties. More silence, more eyes, all of them on her now. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. When lies are screamed for long enough, truth doesn't have to raise its voice. The silence didn't break. It shattered. Wesley held the room in his palm. His voice was the match, and the lies were already soaked in gasoline. All it took was one more spark. He looked at Jody, not with anger, but with something worse. Clarity. I believed everything you told me, he said, voice low. I stood by you while you built this image, but now I know you built it on her work, on her name. Jody stepped forward, eyes wide. Wes, please, don't do this. You don't know the whole story. He took off his wedding band, slow and quiet, and placed it in her hand. You didn't just lie to me. You built our life on her ashes. She gasped, but he'd already turned away. Wesley, wait! We were a team! Her voice cracked. Tell them, Dad. Tell them it wasn't all me. Boyd didn't move. Mom, she pleaded, turning to Darla. But Darla's face had collapsed into something tight gray, hollow. This is your mess, Jody, not ours. Jody staggered, like someone pulled the ground out from beneath her. I could have stayed to watch her scramble, explain, rewrite. She was always good at rewriting. Instead, I picked up my clutch from the credenza. Reuben stood waiting near the door. I nodded once. I passed Jody without looking. No smirk, no triumph, just air. She reached for me. Lindy, please, I didn't mean to take everything. I was surviving. I stopped, glanced sideways. We were all surviving. I just didn't do it by erasing someone else. I kept walking. No one stopped me. Not Boyd, not Darla, not even the guests. They parted like curtains, letting me exit the stage I never auditioned for. As I stepped into the night, a weight left my body. Not vengeance, not pride, just space, space to breathe, to build again. I didn't burn it all down. It was never built right to begin with. We reached the porch just as the night deepened into its final hush. The air was cooler now, but not cold, sharp enough to clear a breath, gentle enough to keep it steady. Then I heard him. Boots on stone, a familiar rhythm I hadn't missed in years. Boyd stepped out from the shadows of the columns, arms folded, voice low. You think walking out of that room makes you the bigger person? Before I could answer, Reuben moved. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't even look angry. He simply stood between us. No, he said, but staying behind to clean up someone else's damage? That would make her a fool. Boyd's jaw clenched, but he didn't reply. He stepped aside, and we left. 2 weeks passed. I sat at my desk in my home office, sun streaking through the windows. Silas was humming somewhere down the hall. Reuben had just made coffee. Life had begun moving forward. The envelope on my desk was postmarked from Jody's new address. Inside, a card and a handwritten note. Half apology, half performance. You were never the problem. I just couldn't compete with who you are. I read it once, then slid it into the bottom drawer of a filing cabinet labeled closed. Her voicemail played next. I didn't let it finish before deleting it. I wasn't angry, just done. That afternoon, I signed the final paperwork. Zoom call, lawyers, grant coordinators, 20 scholarships, full rides, no essays, no family references, just merit and unmet need. The Chamberlain Grant for displaced STEM students. I clicked submit and closed my laptop. Later, I found Silas in the garden, kneeling beside a row of sunflowers, his small fingers pressed into the soil. Some plants don't grow well next to others, I said, crouching beside him. He looked up. Like people? I smiled, brushing dirt from his cheek. Exactly. Not everything broken has to be fixed. Some things you outgrow, some things you leave behind, some roots you're given, others you get to choose. As I look back now, not with anger but with clarity, I realize something. It's not always about being forgiven. Sometimes it's about forgiving yourself for staying quiet too long, for carrying shame that was never yours, for thinking that family means keeping the peace, even when it costs your truth. I lost years trying to prove I was worthy of love that should have been unconditional. But here's what I've learned. You don't owe anyone silence to be accepted. You don't need to shrink to belong. And you can rebuild your life, not from what they gave you, but from what they tried to take. So if you're watching this and you've ever been erased, unheard, or underestimated, this is your reminder that your story still matters. You still matter. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from your own blood to finally feel free? Do you believe silence keeps a family together, or does truth? Tell me in the comments. If this story touched something inside you, drop a 1 below or share what state or city you're watching from. And hey, if it didn't hit home for you, that's okay too. Let me know why. Let's talk. If you want more stories like this, raw, real, and rooted in truth, subscribe to the channel now and turn on that little bell so you never miss the next one. This isn't just storytelling. This is healing. Together.
So, I hear you're on welfare. Aren't you ashamed? Alice was my wife, but we divorced after she had an affair. Now she's remarried to George, the guy she cheated with. I wonder who told her I'm receiving welfare. It's true that I'm currently unemployed, but I see it as a reward for getting through a tough year. Who are you mistaking me for? I'm not on welfare. What? But you left your job, right? Aren't you on welfare because of that? Alice seemed more shocked and unsettled than I imagined. I kept a straight face and said, well, I do have assets worth $10 million. My name is John Smith. I'm a 42-year-old ID engineer. You might think it's a stylish and cool job, but my daily life was pretty lackluster. I live far from downtown, so my commute is lengthy. Every morning, I wake up early and spend 2 hours commuting by bus and train. I work quietly, and if I miss the last train due to overtime, I stay at a cheap inn because I can't afford a hotel. I don't drink or interact much with colleagues, so my days end with just a commute between home and office. Once I get home, I seclude myself in my room and develop cell phone apps as a hobby. Some of my apps are already released and used by many. I wasn't into gambling or investing, but maybe buying lottery tickets every New Year's Eve was an exception. I've been doing it for years. Sometimes I won small amounts and felt joy. My life was monotonous and solitary, rarely sharing happiness with anyone. Days would pass, and I'd age. Thinking about it felt a bit lonely, but I just drifted along. In such circumstances, a twist of fate led to my marriage. My wife's name was Alice. She was 4 years younger than me. A few of my scarce friends, concerned about my lack of female companionship, introduced her to me. She seemed plain but genuine. Despite disliking shyness, I felt drawn to Alice. I wondered what she found attractive in me. Alice rarely shared her true feelings, but when I asked, she said she wanted a stable life and a secure future. Both Alice and I had long passed the usual marriage age and felt anxious about our futures. Thinking this could be our last chance for marriage, I proposed, and Alice thought along the same lines. Maybe she would have married anyone who proposed. So we got married and started living in the two-bedroom house I had rented as a bachelor. I wanted children, but Alice was already in her late 30s, facing the risks of a late pregnancy. It's going to be tough having a child at our age. Imagine our age when the child turns 20. There's no upside to it, so let's not push for kids, she said. I felt disappointed, but her point seemed valid, so I gave up on the idea of children. Without the cost of raising kids, we could manage on my salary alone, but that's only because I led a simple life without expensive hobbies. The woman next door had a beautiful bag. I'd love one like that, a designer bag. Alice said, we don't need something so pricey. There are plenty of affordable bags that would do, I replied. You're really dull, you know that. Is your life even enjoyable? Alice said. According to Alice, the more money you have, the more enjoyable life is. Saying that my salary alone couldn't provide a fun life, Alice started working part-time at a local supermarket. The supermarket opened at 10 o'clock a.m., but she had to be there by 9 o'clock a.m. for opening preparations. Her shift varied, so sometimes when I got home early, she wasn't back yet. On those occasions, I quickly whipped up something to eat using whatever was in the fridge. My cooking was quite popular with Alice, especially when she returned exhausted. I wondered how much Alice was earning since she didn't share her earnings. I had no idea how much discretionary money she had, but seeing her buy several of her favorite brand bags and upscale cosmetics, I guessed she was working pretty hard. I didn't mind how Alice spent the money she earned through her efforts. Sometimes I wondered if we were truly happy in our marriage. I had no complaints about Alice, and she seemed to live freely, but we were not the couple who felt passionately in love. The truth was, both Alice and I felt like we were missing something in our lives. I first noticed a change in Alice about 6 months after she started her part-time job. I didn't have a strong desire to excel at work, so I tried to leave on time without doing overtime. However, due to my long commute, I usually got home around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock p.m. Alice no longer greeted me when I got home. I'm really busy with work these days. The supermarket stays open until 9 o'clock p.m. After that, there's a lot of prep for the next day and handovers to be done. Despite having started the job just 6 months ago, I was impressed that she had become such a valuable team member. Well, that's great you're enjoying your job. We don't have kids, and I can take care of myself. Keep up the good work. Alice replied with a thank you and a smile, and ate the late dinner I had made. One Sunday, while I was cleaning the yard, our neighbor, a gossip lover named Susan, approached me. Hi, John. Is your wife working today? Yes, she hardly gets any days off, but she seems to be enjoying her work, so I'm not worried. Oh, is that so? If the husband is okay with it, maybe I shouldn't say anything. What do you mean? Is something wrong with my wife? Susan looked around nervously to make sure no one was listening, then whispered, Your wife is having an affair with the supermarket manager. Several people have seen them together. I felt like I had been hit on the head. Alice is having an affair. I had naively reassured myself that Alice, being a plain woman, wouldn't get involved in such things with other men. However, lately her makeup and clothes have become more flamboyant. Perhaps men who like flashy women would be attracted to her, but that doesn't mean I can easily accept such a story. No way. My wife would never do that. I trust her. You're naive, aren't you? Anyone who sees her flashy get-up these days would notice. You should confront her about it. Indeed, Alice had lost the simple charm I loved and had completely switched to a flashy style. If this change was to please her lover, I couldn't ignore it. I immediately confronted Alice about the affair. Alice admitted to the affair without hesitation. I want a divorce. I love George, the manager. For the first time in my life, I feel truly alive and in love. Marrying you in a hurry because of our rage was a mistake. How could she say something so cruel? Was our married life really that unenjoyable? I thought I had done everything I could for Alice, making compromises where possible, to be told that our marriage was a mistake. Feeling angry, I clenched my fists, trying hard to stay calm. Alice, seemingly indifferent to my feelings, suddenly stood up and went to the bedroom. Unable to bring myself to sleep in the same room, I spent the night on the living room sofa. The next day, Alice said, We need to cool off a bit, and went back to her parents' house. A few days later, a woman claiming to be George's wife came to my house. Hi, I'm Linda, George's wife. My husband wants to divorce me, and it seems your wife is the reason. I listened to Linda's story in detail. George and Linda had a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old daughter, and Linda's days were consumed with childcare. My husband's feelings have drifted away. He says he no longer finds me attractive now that I've become more of a mother than a wife. He told me he wants to live with the person he loves, so we should get divorced. George's selfish logic infuriated me. If Linda and I had done something wrong to our partners, I would understand, but we hadn't done anything wrong. At most, our plain and steady lifestyles led to a lack of excitement. What does he mean by I want to live with the person I love, so let's get divorced? For Alice, I was just a boring existence, as Linda was for George. If we divorce, I will demand alimony from your wife. You should also claim it from George. They'll probably marry each other, but I don't want them to have an easy start to their marriage. I felt the same way. Linda was being discarded by George, and I was being abandoned by Alice. Meeting Linda and talking to her helped me decide to divorce Alice. I understand. I will also claim alimony from George and my wife. You should do the same, Linda. Money alone can't make people happy, but it's better to have some. Let's seek our own happiness. So, Alice and I got divorced, and Linda did the same with George. Alice and George quietly paid the alimony and child support we demanded. It was as if now that they had found their true love, money didn't matter to them anymore. No words could reach them in their delirium. I just wanted to say, do whatever you want. Alice and George moved out of town and started living in the next town over. I threw away everything Alice had used and started a new life. Even after the divorce, I continued living in the rental house I shared with Alice. I didn't want the hassle of moving to a different apartment and thought it best to wait until I was more prepared for such a change. After the divorce, I quit the job I had for many years and started spending my days leisurely at home. I knew the neighbors were gossiping that I quit my job because of the shock of the divorce, but I didn't care what they said. Working on my computer whenever I liked and dedicating myself to gardening when the weather was nice, I spent my days leisurely. One day, the neighborhood gossip, Susan, approached me again. John, did you quit your job? You're always home during the day. Yes, I just can't bring myself to work right now. I'm taking some time for mental rest. Susan looked at me with a puzzled expression and said, I see. By the way, someone said they saw you at the city hall. Is that true? Yes, I have been going to the city hall once a month lately. Susan's eyes widened for a moment before she muttered something mysterious and left, saying, Well, see you later. Soon, I started feeling that the neighbors' gazes were different. At first, I didn't notice, but it seemed like they pitied me. Sure, the story of my wife Alice cheating with the local supermarket manager, George, and leaving was embarrassing, and I understood their sympathy if they pitied me for that reason. However, I soon realized it was not just that. There was a rumor about me circulating that I was living on welfare. Susan was the source of the rumor. She deduced this from the fact that I was jobless and always at home, going to the city hall once a month, and still living in a shabby rental house despite my divorce. She theorized that I didn't work because I was getting welfare payments, that my monthly city hall visits were to collect welfare checks, and that I couldn't move out of the shabby house because living in a nicer place would disqualify me from receiving welfare. I just smiled wryly, thinking, so that's what it is, but continued my days as usual. Indeed, I'm not working right now, but I considered it a reward for overcoming the pain of divorce. One day, I went to a shopping mall a bit far from home to buy gardening supplies. After shopping, I sat on a bench to relax and spotted a familiar woman. It was Alice. Alice was dressed in cheap clothes, hardly looking well off, and quickly approached me when she saw me. It's been a while. How have you been? She asked. As I didn't respond, she just sat down beside me. She stared at my clothes, confirming that I was still dressed plainly as ever. With a smirk, Alice said to me, So, I heard you're on welfare. Aren't you embarrassed? I couldn't believe that the rumor had reached Alice living in the next town. After betraying me and causing me so much pain, was she now mocking my misery? The first thing I felt upon hearing her words was that she probably wasn't in a happy situation herself. If Alice were happy, she wouldn't bother about me, and would have just passed by. Unhappy herself, she couldn't resist the urge to hear about someone else's misfortune. In other words, she wanted to feel better by finding someone worse off than her. I had heard about Linda's recent situation. After receiving alimony and child support, Linda was receiving every possible allowance and worked hard. She must be living more comfortably than Alice, who was financially strained after paying alimony and child support. So, hearing about Linda probably infuriated Alice, and now she was meddling with me, someone she perceived as unfortunate. Such a poor woman. Suppressing my amusement, I pretended not to understand what she meant. Who are you confusing me with? I'm not on welfare. What? But you quit your job, right? Aren't you on welfare because of that? Alice was more surprised and fled than I had imagined. I did quit my job. Living without working isn't bad, but it would make life boring. Right now, I'm preparing for the next chapter of my life. Once I'm ready, I plan to move out of that rental house. Alice's face turned increasingly anxious. How can you live without working? And I heard you go to the city hall once a month. Isn't that to collect welfare? Susan's notorious gossiping. I didn't expect the rumor to be this detailed. I explained to Alice deliberately. The reason I can live without working is that I have money. My monthly visits to the city hall are for the legal consultations they provide. I've rested enough, and I'm thinking about starting a business. Money? Starting a business? Alice became more confused. Weren't you just a regular employee with hardly any money, and you quit your job? Starting a business? Are you crazy? When we were married, I had given Alice access to all my savings accounts, so she knew very well that I didn't have much money back then. In her mind, if I had money, she wouldn't have left me for George. Keeping a straight face, I told Alice, well, I do have assets worth $10 million. Alice's mouth dropped open in disbelief, uttering a stunned, what? Yes, I now have assets worth $10 million. Let me explain how it all happened. I think I mentioned before that I have a hobby of buying lottery tickets. I've never gambled on things like casinos or horse racing, but lottery tickets are a kind of gamble in a broad sense. You buy a ticket and get to dream big until the day of the draw. I used to spend about $11,000 a year on lottery tickets, saving up my allowance while married. I gave up buying lottery tickets to help ease the family budget, thinking about our family's future. But after the divorce, such considerations didn't matter anymore. 2 months after separating from Alice, I casually went for a walk and ended up in the shopping district. There was a long line in front of me, and when I peeked, it led to a lottery ticket booth. Oh, the New Year's lottery tickets are on sale now. Feeling an urge to buy due to the long wait, I rushed to an ATM and withdrew $2,000. I handed the $2,000 to the ticket seller, who smiled and said, I wish you luck. Somehow, it felt like there was a halo around the vendor's head. From that moment, I had a strange premonition and started attending seminars for people wanting to start their own businesses, with no real basis for my actions. To make room for new beginnings, I cleared out old items I had kept for memories. I sorted out the past to start anew for myself. Then, on the lottery draw day, I checked the official website and confirmed that I had won a total of $10 million, including the front and back prizes. Despite my strange premonition, I never really thought I would actually win. The emotions were beyond just happiness or surprise. I probably spent half the day in a daze. Having received $10 million, I tried not to change my life drastically. I kept the win a secret to myself. I didn't even tell my parents about it. I knew that if people found out, suddenly unknown relatives and best friends would appear out of nowhere. Building a mansion would have been a dead giveaway. I decided not to indulge in frivolous luxuries, saving the money for what I truly wanted to do first. As a reward for years of hard work, I took some time to relax. I resigned from my job and spent more time gardening, basking in the sunlight. Gardening turned out to be quite interesting, and my small garden soon bloomed with vibrant colors. After 2 months, I got bored of resting and began looking for collaborators to prepare for starting my own business. It felt like my unremarkable life and the failure to find a good partner were trials for this reward of $10 million. Being able to tell Alice about my assets now was like a reward from God for all the hardships I endured. Another stroke of luck was that the lottery win happened after our divorce. If I had won it while I was married to Alice, she would have probably squandered it. Eventually, Alice came to her senses and started interrogating me fiercely. Why didn't you tell me you had assets worth $10 million when we were married? Alice asked. I didn't have such assets while we were married, I said, but I had no intention of clarifying that. I feigned ignorance and smiled. So you're saying you wouldn't have divorced me if you knew? Alice, struck by the core of the matter, stuttered. Well, that is, you married me in a hurry. Right now that you've found true love, you should be happy with George. Alice screamed in frustration. Don't joke with me, you big liar. Although being called a liar was slightly irritating, I couldn't help but feel sorry for Alice. I knew she was currently struggling financially. She had been demanded alimony by both Linda and me, and her part-time earnings were taken away, even resorting to borrowing from relatives. Alice twisted her mouth in frustration. George doesn't have assets worth $10 million. Of course, he wouldn't. It's not common for someone close to you to have $10 million. George now has to pay alimony for both of his kids until they become adults, which means tight finances for almost the next 20 years. As I stayed silent, Alice, looking down hesitantly, began to speak. I actually regret divorcing you. Why aren't you happy now? I asked. Not at all. Things aren't going well with George. When we both had our families, there was some thrill and excitement every day. You don't feel excited now? Alice sighed deeply. Not at all. We just fight whenever we see each other. Hey John, can we start over? I was shocked and dismayed at her sudden proposition. Start over with me? That's quite presumptuous. I'll change. You don't have a girlfriend now, do you? Honestly, I was so angry with Alice I felt like spitting in her face. The nerve of her suggesting we get back together after everything. The emotional scars she left on me will probably never heal. I don't have a girlfriend, but even if I stay single for the rest of my life, I'd never get back together with you. I thought I made myself clear, but Alice wouldn't give up. Then could you at least lend me $100,000? I'll definitely pay you back. $100,000 is nothing for someone with $10 million. The audacity of the request. I struggled to maintain my composure and keep a calm face. I have no intention of lending money to anyone, especially not to someone who betrayed me. If I had $100,000 to spare, I'd rather donate it to some facility. Alice bit her lip in frustration and muttered softly, I see. All right, I'll have to figure it out on my own. After saying that, Alice stood up from the bench, her steps heavy as she walked away. Whenever I'm in the garden, Susan almost always appears and chats about various things. Susan's antenna is even tuned into what's happening with Alice and others living in the neighboring town. Alice seemed to be having a hard time. She's not getting along with her husband. I also heard that they started living separately the other day. Living separated, huh? Does that mean they're heading towards divorce? Alice really did something foolish. Affairs that cause others misery always come back to bite you in the end. It's like that with celebrities too, right? I'm not sure whether everyone who does such things faces repercussions, but there are certainly people who do. I wonder how they're managing financially after the separation. Is Alice working part-time again? Apparently, she's resorting to cash advances to cover living expenses. Once it reaches that point, it's pretty much over. Her husband, George, was fired from the supermarket and is now working day-to-day jobs. It seems Susan is well informed about Alice and George's financial situation. If someone like her found out, I want $10 million in the lottery, it would cause quite a stir. I planned to keep it a secret while I was in this town and then move to an unknown place when the time was right. Eventually, I'd heard that Alice and George got divorced. Now that she had no reliable partner, she might turn to me again. So I quickly bought a condo in an area closer to the center of the city, far from this town, and moved there. I invested part of my $10 million as capital and started my own business company. I rented a small office and began with just 3 employees, including myself. Not even my closest employees know about my $10 million asset. I believe keeping it a secret is best for maintaining close relationships. The business is doing well, and work is increasing, so I'm thinking of hiring more staff. Being a single company president, I often get introduced to wonderful women by business partners. Once the business stabilizes, considering remarriage doesn't seem like a bad idea. I feel like I'm experiencing a second youth, eager to give my all to both work and love. My name's Jack, and I'm 45 years old. That day, I was drinking at my regular bar when something annoying happened. Three guys next to me were being really loud and disruptive. I tolerated it for a while, but eventually, I hit my limit. "Excuse me, you guys, can't you keep it down a bit?" I said to them. "Huh. It's none of your business, man," one of the guys shot back. "It is my business. I'm drinking here too. If you're going to be this loud, it's a real pain. Whether it's a pain or not, we don't give a crap. Why should we listen to some old geezer like you?" "Yeah, that's right. This old dude's getting too big for his britches. You've ruined our buzz. What are you going to do about it?" The other two chimed in. Things were getting troublesome. "Hey, easy man. I'm not ordering you around. I'm just asking you to keep it down. That's what we're saying. Are you stupid or something, old man?" Their words really ticked me off. "You got quite the dirty mouth, calling an elder that. There's a limit to being rude. Maybe you ought to show a bit more respect to your elders. Why the hell should we respect some total stranger like you? Plus, you're just an annoying geezer who started hassling us out of nowhere. If you want respect, how about you do something to earn it first? Don't think you automatically get respect just because you're older." "All are some real disrespectful brats," I snapped. The moment I said that, the air got tense. The three guys stood up, glaring at me, and I glared right back. "Gentlemen, let's leave it at that, shall we?" The bar owner, who had been watching from a distance, stepped in before things got out of hand. "Come on, Jack, let it go now, okay?" The bar owner's words made me start to back down, but one of the guys snarled, "Hey, you running away now? That's enough. You got something else to say?" "Damn right we do. You ruined our good time, jerk. Get on your knees and apologize." "On my knees?" "That's right. Geez, can't let it go without an apology. You've got quite high pride, haven't you?" "Shut up. Do you think I'm dumb?" "Then don't do anything stupid, you bastard. You're getting too cocky. Do you know who we are?" Then the guy said something I never expected. "We're from the Johnson family. We're mafia." "The Johnson family, huh?" I muttered. I had heard of them. Not a big organization, but they definitely existed, so the guy was probably telling the truth. "What's the matter, old man? You scared now that you know we're mafia?" "Well, too late for that. Even if you apologize, we ain't going to forgive you." Hearing that, I couldn't help but chuckle. I found it amusing how shallow-minded they were, thinking that would scare me. "The hell you laughing at?" the guy yelled angrily when he saw me laugh. "Hey, geezer, you're looking down on us way too much. If we get serious, we can do whatever we want to you." "That's right. Not just you, maybe we'll rough up your family too. We can ruin your whole life if we feel like it," the other two guys shouted angrily as well. "That's interesting. Your logic is amusingly simple. You wanted to see others get scared when you said you were from the Johnson family, didn't you? Too bad for you, I'm not one to be frightened so easily. Don't try to act tough. We seriously have the power to make you disappear if we want." "Oh, really? I look forward to it," I said with a smirk on my face. "Then wipe that smirk off your face. Your expression pisses me off. If you're going to look down on us that much, we'll take care of you right now. Get your ass outside," the guy yelled furiously. "Gentlemen," the bar owner spoke up again. "You again? You've been a pain in the ass this whole time, you old hag. You boys better stop now if you don't want to lose your lives here. He is definitely the last person you want to mess with." The three guys froze at those words. One of them uttered, "What the hell are you talking about, lady? Are you nuts?" And they burst into loud laughter. "Do you think this geezer is mafia, lady? We are the mafia here. Listen up good, you old bat. The one in danger right now ain't us. It's this old bastard. How twisted is your thinking to say something like that? You going senile? You don't get me. I'm genuinely concerned about you guys." "Huh. Please leave now. It's for your own good." One man retorted, "Shut the hell up." The guy yelled, swatting the bar owner's hand away. "Eek, if you keep acting up, we'll break down this whole bar for us. Johnson guys. That's a piece of cake. Now that you get it, keep your trap shut, hag. You've been in our way this whole damn time. Say one more thing, and we won't hold back. Remember that?" The three guys threatened the bar owner and hurled abuse at her. I stepped in front of them. "Huh. The hell you glaring at, bastard?" I was shaking with rage. I couldn't forgive what those guys had done. "You Johnson punks go after civilians too. The hell are you on about? The bar owner has nothing to do with this, but you swatted her hand away and threatened to destroy her bar. That's something I cannot be lenient about. Shut your trap. Who says we can't go after civilians? Give me a break. Anyone who defies us is an enemy. Doesn't matter if they're civilians or not." With those words, my resolve hardened. I won't forgive these guys. You sandbags are absolute trash. I'm going to teach you a hard lesson. Hearing my words, the guys burst out laughing. "You teach us a lesson? Do you think you're our boss? We're the ones who were supposed to teach you a lesson. 101J, a hard-headed idiot like you, needs a hands-on lesson to understand. Watch what will happen if you defy the mafia." The three let out dirty laughs. Then I replied, "A hands-on lesson. Then bring it on." The moment I said that, their laughter stopped dead. "Oh," I said, "bring it on, idiots. The bottom can't do a damn thing to me anyway." "That's it, you're pushing your luck." The clinking of glass rang out in the bar. One of the guys had thrown his glass. Provoked, he'd snapped, "We're going to beat you to a pulp right here, right now." "Are you sure? You thugs think you can pull that off? Don't underestimate me. No way an old fart can beat me, plus there are three of us. The bottom F is all the same to me. Whether it's one or three, trash is still trash no matter how much of it piles up. You idiots get a life." The three surrounded me. They made their first move. "Get him." With that signal, they lunged at me. The first guy threw a punch on my face, but I grabbed his arm. Then, twisting my body, I lifted him onto my back in a shoulder throw. With him soaring through the air, the other two couldn't get close. He let out a scream as his back slammed into the floor. The other two looked shocked. "You bastard." Another one threw a punch at me, but I caught his arm as well. Then, twisting it behind his back, I locked the joint. I was behind him, so his body couldn't attack me. In that moment, I reached out from behind, gently touching his face, then jammed my fingers into his eyes. Clutching his eyes, he writhed on the floor. "One left. What the hell are you?" "Quit yapping." "Come on, piece of trash. Shut up." The guy reached for my face, but I tilted my head and dodged. Then, I smashed my fist into his face. "There's more." I landed 2 more punches to his face. Screaming, he collapsed to the floor. The fight was completely settled. "Damn, who the hell are you?" The guy asked me that, and I thought about it. Might as well tell them now. I'm in the same business as you. Hearing my words, the guys let out flabbergasted hisses. I'm saying I'm a mafia too. I'm the boss of the Smith family. Shocked by this bombshell, the guys looked stiff. The Smith family. The Smith family. That's what I said, ain't it? The Smith family was the biggest organization around here. Compared to the Johnson family, it was a much larger organization. The guys must be fully aware of the outcome and fate of a small mafia group that messed with a bigger one. They face unbelievable retribution, of course, which is exactly why the guys looked so stunned. No way this guy is the boss of the Smith family. For real? Seriously? You brats, now what should I do with you? When I threatened them in a dark tone, the guys suddenly got scared. No wonder at all. Making an enemy of the Smith family meant they wouldn't get off easy. We are deeply, terribly sorry about this. We apologize. Forgive us. The three showed their deep remorse. Do you thugs think apologies will make sense? Well, we really don't know how to make amends. No need for amends. I'm forgiving you anyway. Don't say that, please. Changing his tune completely, the guy spoke in a groveling way. We were just a bit drunk and got carried away, that's all. We're completely sobered up now and reflecting deeply, right? Absolutely. I've never reflected this much in my entire life. I mean, have you ever seen anyone reflecting this hard? Probably not. That's how much we're reflecting. We promise we'll never make this mistake again. Absolutely never do the same thing twice. So please let this slide and find it in your heart to forgive us. We're begging you." With that said, the three pleaded with me again. "Your words ring completely hollow. Sounds to me like you're just saying whatever to get through this situation. In fact, I bet you're not reflecting at all. You're only thinking about how to get out of this jam, aren't you? And honestly, whether you're reflecting or not doesn't matter to me one bit. I don't give a crap. Reflecting or not, I'm going to come down hard on you." "Wait a minute. Take it easy, please. No room for it. Give me a break. You thugs attempted to assault me, the boss of the Smith family. What boss anywhere would let that slide? So why not be the first, Boss Smith? A pioneer. The first boss in history to forgive a mishap." "Shut up. I don't want such a title. And if that talk spreads, it'd be humiliating. They'd say that the boss is a coward. Show us some mercy." "Shut it. I'm going to show you life in hell. Say your prayers." Saying that, the guys slumped their shoulders dejectedly. "Actually, I hadn't heard anything good about your Johnson family, and it's been a problem in our organization for a while now. You Johnson guys rough up civilians, threaten them, and extort money. When I heard you were from the Johnson family, I figured as much. That's when I decided. Seeing you in action made it clear your Johnson family shouldn't be allowed to exist." I looked the guy straight in the eye and opened my mouth. "So we, the Smith family, are going to crush the Johnson family." Hearing my words, the guys looked shocked. "Crush us. Vanish us completely. March in there and dismantle your whole organization." "Wait a minute. You don't have to go that far. This incident ain't the only reason. It's everything you've done up till now. If you're going to resent anyone, resent your past selves. But perfect timing, you're here anyway. I'll talk to Boss Johnson." "What?" "Call your boss now and tell him that I am waiting here. But better make that call before I lose my temper." The guy flinched at those words and then understood. "I'll call right now." He made a call, and apparently their boss will be here in about 20 minutes. 20 minutes later. I am truly sorry for the rudeness of my soldiers. The boss of the Johnson family arrived at the bar and began apologizing. "You're the boss of the Johnson family, so you get it, right? Apologizing doesn't change a thing. I am not forgiving these punks." "I understand." "Good. You catch on quick." The boss of the Johnson family was still staring at me. "Ah, I see. You've got the face of a real scumbag, fitting for an organization known for going after civilians." "Now hold on. Going after civilians is... But you do, don't you? In fact, these three tried to rough me up thinking I was a civilian. And my organization hears plenty about what the Johnson family gets up to. Nothing but bad talk. Those mafia are no better than street punks. That's the consensus among the mafia around here. Those are just rumors, so to speak. Who do you think you're talking to? I'm the boss of the Smith family. When you're in the underworld information network brings you all sorts of intel. The info that reaches my ears isn't just rumors." The boss of the Johnson family fell silent. Seems the rumors were true after all. "Anyway, I already told these punks, but I've made a decision." "A decision?" "Yeah. We, the Smith family, are going to wipe out the Johnson family completely." Hearing that, the eyes of the Johnson family's boss went wide with shock. Naturally, he had just been told to his face that his organization would be crushed. "Why would you do that?" "Why? There's a mountain of reasons, and you know damn well what they are. Mafia who go after civilians like you are nothing but trash. Everyone would be happy to see you gone. Of course, your existence is a thorn in our side too, so we got reason to celebrate. Wait just a minute. That's way too tyrannical no matter how you slice it. Are you an idiot? Mafia are always tyrannical." "I suppose that's true, but, well, if it's money you want, we'll be sure to pay a handsome amount." "I don't want your damn money. Besides, that cash is from killing civilians, right? No way in hell I'd take money like that. Then we'll give you some of our territory. If your organization vanishes, then your territory will be ours either way. Come on, it's time for you to pay for everything you've done up till now. Accept it as divine retribution." The boss of the Johnson family straightened his posture again, looking sharply at me. "Please, anything but crushing our family. I've got a family of my own. If the organization is gone and I lose my livelihood, what's going to happen to them? They'll all be out on the streets. And it's not just me. Plenty of my men have families too. For their sake, please find it in your heart to let this slide just this once. I'm begging you. The hell are you on about? If your organization is gone, go get a real job. You can support your family that way. In the end, you just want to stay in the mafia so you can get big money the easy way. You just don't want to do honest work. And I bet the civilians you can't have families too. You made their families suffer so you could spoil your own with that dirty money. Think about it, and it's clear who should go. No question. It's you guys who ought to disappear. But you don't have to go that far. Shut up. When I barked at him, the Johnson family's boss flinched. I don't give a rat's ass about your circumstances. When I say I'm going to crush you, I'm going to crush you. I've got no reason to listen to your pleas and no reason to show you mercy. The only thing here is the reason to wipe you out. Got it? When I said that, he fell silent. Seeing that, I figured he'd finally accepted it. But I quickly realized that was a huge mistake. Sorry for taking too much time to clean up the mess, I said to the bar owner. Oh no, not at all. I'm going to take these punks to the office now, so we're done here. As for the cost of the broken glass, Jack, behind you, the bar owner yelled, her face going pale. I whooped around. Turning your back, even on the boss of the Smith family, isn't so great after all, the boss of the Johnson family said to me. He had a pistol in his hand, the barrel pointed at me. I let out a sigh. Just when I thought it was all over. Looks like this is going to drag on. You brought a gun, huh? Well, duh. When you hear the Smith boss is coming, of course you're going to be on guard. The boss of the Johnson family grinned. Well, looks like the tables have turned. You can't defy me now. Can't defy you? Why not? Haha, come on, quit the tough act. You just happened to drop by this bar, right? So you shouldn't have a gun on you. Ah, you're right. I don't. No matter how strong you are, you can't beat a gun, can you? So how about it? You're absolutely right. It's a good thing your guys were unarmed, but I can't do a thing against someone with a gun. So it's a huge reversal, isn't it? I wonder about that, I muttered. Hey, now that you're pointing that gun at me, what do you plan to do next? Ha! Even if you shoot me, my men will definitely retaliate against you. If that happens, your lives are as good as over. Oh, I see. You're so calm because you think threatening me like that will stop me. But too bad, I ain't falling for that. If I shoot you, I'll shoot the woman there too. Luckily, you two are the only witnesses. If I clean this all up, it'll be like you just suddenly vanished. Well, the Smith families in gathering might uncover it, but that's a gamble. Better to bet on the side with some hope than to let our organization get crushed without a fight like this. I see you got a bit of a brain in that stupid head of yours. Don't you dare talk down to me. You've been looking down on me this whole time. I'll show you what we can do. And then, hey, you guys, the Johnson family's boss called out to his 3 men. You lot go find something to tie them up with and have a car ready. What, you idiots? Why don't you get it? If I shoot here, the Jeanette might alert someone and the cleanup will take time. I'm going to off them in the mountains, so get it ready. Then, boss? Huh. What? I think we better not do this. Their boss seemed to be surprised at this unexpected statement. What the hell are you saying? You chickening out? No, it's just, if we let them go now, we're in deep. You'll be in trouble too, obviously, so it's better to dispose of them properly. Why don't you get that? That's not it. It's not about that. Huh? I mean about what happened before you got here, boss. And then, hey, you can come out now, I called out. At that moment, about 10 men poured in from the bar entrance, and they all pointed guns at the Johnson family's boss. Wait a minute, who are these guys? My soldiers. When I said that, the Johnson boss looked shocked. Smith family members? That's right. Actually, while you were on your way here, I called my guys and had them wait outside. Those 3 saw it happen, so they tried to stop you. No way, you punks. You should have said something sooner. But boss, you wouldn't listen. Shut up. I wanted to see how you'd react when you got here. Depending on your attitude, I was thinking of going a bit easier on you. But this was the worst case scenario. You tried to kill me. You're finished. Damn it, the boss of the Johnson family said in a fading voice as he dropped to his knees. The gun slipped from his hand. You threw away your last chance. The light you thought you saw might have been light leaking from the gates of hell. Well, it's all a result of your usual conduct. Spend eternity regretting it in hell. Then I spoke to my men. Hey, take them to the office. All four of them. My soldiers skillfully hauled off the four. I followed after, and with that, the trouble at the bar finally came to an end. Some time later, I was drinking at that bar again. The other customers had left, and when it was just me and the bar owner, she spoke up. Did everything work out with that incident? She was probably talking about the scuffle with the Johnson family. It's fine. It's all over now, I replied. And sorry about that. Caused you trouble too. I apologized to her. Not at all. You've done so much for me. If anything, I should be thanking you. Thank you for always looking out for me, the bar owner said. Well, it's for my bro's sake. The bar owner was actually my brother's wife, but my brother passed away from illness about 10 years ago. At the time, the bar owner lost her will to live and seemed on the verge of fading away. Take care of my family just before he died, my brother said that to me. So after he passed, I helped out a lot financially. I even chilled out the capital needed to open this bar, and through that, the bar owner regained her will to live. The kids doing well? I asked her. Yes, they're doing great. Seems like he's got a girlfriend now. Oh, is that so? My greatest happiness is knowing my brother's kids are living happily. A girlfriend, huh? Got to let my bro know too. I muttered that and ordered another drink. Is it really okay for me to quit? I asked my boss, seeking confirmation. Rather, I want you to quit as soon as possible, especially now when the severance pay we owe you is minimal, my younger female boss responded, adding insult to injury. Her words led me to head home. After this, the company is going to face serious trouble. Little did my female boss know what was coming. My name is Thomas Richardson, 55 years old. After my divorce, I joined this company as a mid-career hire and have been working here for 30 years. I'm approaching retirement with less than 5 years left, but I'm still considered a sideline employee. I haven't seen my child in over 30 years. My ex-wife didn't want us to meet. There was a dispute at the time, but now I've come to terms with it. As a parent, I only wanted to fulfill my duty of paying child support, which ended when my child became an adult. I don't have any plans to spend money on anything special now. I've never had a desire for promotion, so I'm grateful for my current work environment where I can take things easy. My hobbies are fishing and golf. I often go alone on my days off, but I've made friends and had various conversations with people I meet there. One of these friends owns a boat and sometimes takes me out to sea, and another, a farmer, shares homegrown vegetables with me. I don't have a family, but I don't feel lonely thanks to these expanding social connections. I really enjoy living my days at my own pace. One day, I arrived at the office to find everyone in a frenzy. What's going on? I asked Mark, a junior colleague sitting next to me. It turns out there's a sudden inspection from the headquarters, he replied. Ah, that's why everyone's suddenly cleaning up. They should just show it as it is, I said with a laugh and sat down to start my work. We've had such inspections before, but they never really posed a problem. The employees hurrying to tidy up were the ones who didn't keep their desks organized regularly. If they had just done the bare minimum of tidying every day, they wouldn't be panicking like this now. I've only understood the importance of daily tidying at my age, so I can't say much. A few hours later, the inspectors from the headquarters arrived. The person in charge of our department was a young woman. However, it seems she holds the position of a manager. Watching her greet us, I assumed she must be quite capable. Hello, I'm Jessica from the headquarters. Today, I'm here to observe your work. Please continue with your usual tasks, she said. We nodded in response to her greeting and began our usual work. She's beautiful. Some of the younger male employees seemed a bit excited by her presence, which made me chuckle at their youthfulness. What does this mean? Jessica was asking questions and smiling as she inspected each employee's work. Then she came to me. What is that part-timer doing right now? Her question was directed at me. Ah, I'm a full-time employee, I said with a forced smile. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you a supervisor? Jessica apologized. No, I'm just a regular employee without a title. Well, about my current work. I was about to explain when her tone changed abruptly. What? Jessica's voice took on a sharp edge. I looked up at her voice. A regular employee at your age? Her words were cutting. She seemed angry, and I felt intimidated. Yes. I've never been much interested in climbing the corporate ladder. I stumbled over my words, and she burst out laughing. Isn't it simply because you can't do the job? Incompetent and old. You're fired as of today. Don't bother coming in tomorrow, she said harshly. Not just me, but the surrounding employees were stunned by her words. We can't afford to pay incompetent people. This is necessary for the company's cost-cutting. There are plenty of others who can replace you, she continued. Realizing I was being insulted, I clenched my fist in anger. Sure, she might be competent, but that doesn't give her the right to belittle others. Annoyed, I stood up and said to her, "Is it really okay for me to quit?" I asked Jessica for confirmation. "Rather, I'd prefer you quit now while we can still save on SPay." She insulted me further with a satisfied smile. I no longer felt like working. I had been told to leave. It wouldn't be marked as an absence. I picked up my bag and left the company. As I left the department, everyone tried to stop me, but nobody dared speak in front of Jessica. My direct boss, Samuel, had more authority than Jessica, but there's a tradition in our company of not opposing headquarters staff. Samuel said nothing, and I walked home alone. The next day was Saturday, and the company was already closed. Wondering what to do from Monday, I decided not to waste a holiday worrying and went fishing instead. I think things through well while doing something I enjoy. Fishing is the perfect hobby for that. I went fishing early in the morning. It was my usual favorite fishing spot. Despite my mood, the sea was calm, promising a good night with good fish. With that thought, I cast my line. "Hey, I thought you might be here," someone called out to me. "Max." It was my fishing buddy, Max Stewart. We met here. He's 10 years older than me, but a dear friend who looks after me and listens to my stories. "Any luck today?" "This is good, so I hoped for a big catch, but it's not going as expected," I said, opening my box. "Only one fish so far." Max laughed at that. "Well, no rush," he said, setting up his gear a little away from me. Clouds drifted slowly by. Even though the fishing scenery was the same as always, my mood was notably heavier, probably due to what happened yesterday. "What's wrong? You look down today," Max said. I laughed at his words. "Max, I have something I need to apologize to you for." "What do you mean?" Then I began to speak slowly. "Actually, there was an inspection from the headquarters last Friday. I met a manager there for the first time, and it seems she took a dislike to me," I said, laughing to hide my embarrassment. "I was told not to come back. I got angry and left. I might end up getting fired. I've shared so much with you, and you've encouraged me. I'm sorry." "No need to apologize to me," Max said, then silently stared at his float in the sea, occasionally sighing deeply as if pondering something. "I'd rather live a relaxed life than get busy with promotions, but it seems that hard-working youngsters don't like that. Relationships are harder than work, aren't they?" I said earnestly. Max replied, "Well, I can understand the supervisor's feelings, but it's wrong to unjustly fire someone. A supervisor should understand their subordinates' feelings and situations. That's why she lags. People who climb the ladder just based on their brains or performance often misunderstand things." I admired Max's wisdom. He got in for me and cared about my situation. Talking to him made me feel much better. Just talking to someone can make such a difference. I thanked Max and shifted my mood. After that, I caught more fish than ever. Perhaps the fish didn't want to come near me with my dark aura. While thinking this, I returned home with a heavy cooler box. 2 days later, on Monday, despite it being a work day, I stayed at home. I had been pushed out in such a manner. I wasn't sure whether to go back. Max, whom I met on Saturday, gave me advice. "The company is all about people. You don't need to apologize to them. Wait until they come to you. You've been working hard and must have a lot of paid leave, right?" Indeed, I never used my paid leave, so I must have a few days' worth. Maybe it's a good time for a trip. While thinking this, enjoying a leisurely morning coffee on a weekday felt novel. As I was about to have a late breakfast, my phone rang. It was the ringtone of a phone call. When I looked at the screen, It displayed the name of the company I work for along with the name of my department. What could it be? I had informed Samuel about using my leave. Hello. As soon as I answered, I heard Samuel's frantic voice. Thomas, come to the office right away. Why? I told you I'm using my leave, I replied. But Samuel insisted. Please just come. We're in big trouble. Our biggest client says they'll cancel all contracts if you're fired. Please come and help continue the contract. I laughed cynically. Why should I go and beg? You saw the exchange the other day, right? Jessica told me I'm fired, to go home. If she doesn't admit her fault and apologize by the time my leave is used up, then I'll have nothing to do with the company anymore. So I don't care about future contracts, I said, sipping my coffee. Don't say that. I know how hard you've worked. That should be enough. It's nice of you to say so, but whether Jessica is a headquarters supervisor and I'm a low-level employee, it doesn't give her the right to be rude. You understand that, right, Samuel? Please consider the future in the company, I said and hung up the phone. I had somewhat anticipated this development, but for Jessica, it must have been like a bolt from the blue. I might have caused trouble for everyone at the branch. However, Max's words, "Don't apologize to the company," stuck with me. Then, in the evening of that day, I received a call from the headquarters on my cell phone. It was probably her. Expecting to be insulted again, I cleared my throat and answered the call. Hello. Hello, this is Jessica from the headquarters. Is this Thomas's phone? Yes, it is. What do you want? I replied coldly. She spoke with a low voice. I'm truly sorry for the disrespectful things I said the other day. I would like to apologize personally, which is why I'm calling you. Her voice lacked the confidence and assertiveness from before. Perhaps her behavior during the inspection had been reported to the headquarters, and she had been reprimanded by her superiors. Understood. I thought it wouldn't hurt to at least hear her out. She suggested meeting at a restaurant our company frequently uses for clients and wanted to meet that evening. I was on leave and agreed to meet her that night. I'd arrived at the restaurant first. I never thought we'd be having a meal together, but probably she was instructed to apologize to me to salvage the major contract. I could sense the desperation of the company. I'm sorry for being late, Jessica said as she entered the room. We sat down across from each other. I'm sorry for calling you out like this today. She seemed on the verge of tears. Feeling a bit sorry for her, I smiled and said, Your feelings have already come across, Jessica. I came here today to forgive you, but your view is too biased. I'm not in a position to preach, but I wanted to have a talk. Encouraged by my words, she started to speak. Actually, I was raised in a single-parent family by a strict mother. She believed that since we were already at a disadvantage, I had to beat others regardless of gender in academics and attitude. She insisted that I should study hard, join a reputable company, and climb the corporate ladder. I also believed that approach was necessary to survive in society. She spoke without touching her food. I replied, That's true. It's not wrong, and is actually a wonderful approach. Thank you, she said, and I smiled at her. Jessica, slightly reassured, continued. So I thought I'm working this hard and maybe unknowingly pushed that onto others. And I got targeted because even at my age, I hadn't climbed the ranks. I laughed, understanding her point, and she shrank a bit with guilt. I had no intention of blaming her anymore. She must have been trying her best in her own way. Then, seeing her still hesitant, I encouraged her to eat. She was probably hungry after a long day. We both picked up our chopsticks together. I aimed that it had been a while since I had a meal with someone. But while I was feeling relaxed, she still seemed a bit down. Well, a company doesn't rely just on its superiors. You're still young. It's good that you realize this now, I smiled, trying to encourage her. Finally, Jessica seemed to truly relax. Thank you, she said to me, and then started eating. Her mother must have been desperate to raise her well. She seemed like a well-disciplined lady. After that, we engaged in casual conversation. I, who had not attended university, listened to her stories about her college days and about the situation at the headquarters. The ice was broken, and we enjoyed our meal together. During our conversation, she asked me a question. By the way, why did Mr. Stewart, the president of our main contractor, say you would cancel the contract if you weren't there? I laughed. Max and I are fishing buddies. We met by chance and became good friends. I talked earnestly about work, and that's why they contracted with us. Of course, it's not just because we're friends. He was convinced by my proposal. She was surprised. To think you secured such a major contract, she said, then fell silent. I understood what she wanted to say. She was probably wondering why I hadn't climbed the corporate ladder despite securing such a major contract. I really had no desire for promotion, I said with a smile, and she smiled back. Well, there are others in charge of Max's company, but he often contacts me directly. He knew I was sincere, so he trusted me as a business partner, and we've had a good relationship. That's how it was. You've been supporting the company as a hidden pillar, she said. Don't worry about it anymore, I replied. She wasn't a bad person. Being in a managerial position at her age at our company meant she must have worked very hard. Jessica seemed to be reflecting on her actions, feeling ashamed for only seeing the surface and results. If you've reflected, just keep working hard from now on. I'm already 55, close to retirement, and don't have a family, so I don't plan to pursue promotions. But I think your approach is not wrong. Good luck. I encouraged her again. Then Jessica looked up. No family, right? I don't have anything to protect, so I plan to live a carefree life from now on. I smiled gently in response to her smile. Hearing about my way of living, she probably thought to herself that such a life is also possible. I decided to work hard so that she and the younger employees could thrive in the company even after my retirement. I returned to work, cutting my leave short. My colleagues in the department were relieved to see me back. When they started to speak ill of Jessica, I said, I've made peace with her. I've heard her reasons. She's a colleague in the company. Let's stop attacking her. I was thankful they stood up for me, but bad-mouthing only breeds more negativity. Everyone agreed with my words, and so I was able to return to my original environment and gratefully resume my work. A few months later, while enjoying my usual routine at work and fishing with Max and other friends on my days off, I heard a rumor amidst these peaceful days. Jessica is said to have faked her performance for promotion and is going to face a disciplinary meeting. I was surprised. Facing a disciplinary meeting could mean demotion, a pay cut, or, in the worst case, a disciplinary action. I couldn't believe Jessica would do such things. We really talked a lot that day. Her face, as she spoke about her efforts and the challenges she faced in her work, showed no signs of deceit. Of course, if she truly did wrong, she should be punished and reflect. But if it was a false accusation, it would be too unfair. If there was even a slight chance of a wrongful accusation, I wanted to help clear her name. After what happened, I couldn't see her as a stranger anymore. Of course, anything I could investigate, the HR department had already looked into. But still, I reviewed the documents she created and the records of transactions. I heard about it. Among them were documents from companies where my golf friends are managers or executives. I reached out and spoke to various people, confirming there was no wrongdoing in her dealings. Furthermore, everyone unanimously said Jessica really worked hard for us. Then I advised this to HR. The HR manager, Tyler, is my contemporary, though he's younger than me since I was hired mid-career. We've known each other for a long time. If Thomas says so, it must be right. He believed my words. Later, I found out that the source of the rumor was the work of her older subordinates who were jealous of Jessica. I was dismayed to realize that there were petty people everywhere. Those individuals apparently faced disciplinary action. A few days later, Jessica came back to our department. Thomas, can I talk to you for a moment? She asked nervously. I followed her into a separate room. She said, thank you for the other day. I heard from Tyler that you helped clear my name. I really appreciate it. Then she expressed her gratitude. I responded, it's nothing. I couldn't believe that you would do such a thing. It was just a little talk since Tyler happened to be my contemporary. I said this with a laugh, even though my heart was racing. But I had something I needed to say. Can I tell you something? I asked Jessica. She tilted her head curiously. Actually, I went through various documents you prepared. That's when I first learned your family name. I looked down. In fact, I was too nervous to look up. Hey, oh, my family name, it's Harford, Jessica said. I gathered my courage and spoke what I needed to say. Actually, my ex-wife's maiden name was Harford, and our daughter, who we've been separated from since she was 2, is named Jessica. What? She exclaimed, her eyes widening in shock. I finally looked up, scratching my head. I thought it must be a coincidence, but just in case. Her eyes filled with tears, and she stared at me intently. I waited for her words. Thomas Richardson is my father's name. I learned it when I saw my mom's diary. At her words, I was astounded. It's me, I murmured naturally, almost without thinking. Tears embarrassingly began to fall from my eyes. Hearing my words, Jessica cried out like a child and clung tightly to me. I hesitantly wrapped my arms around her. The last time I held her was when she was 2. Realizing how much she had grown, I was moved again by her struggles. Is your mother well? I asked, and she nodded happily. I was grateful to my ex-wife for raising her so well. I never imagined reuniting like this. I thought I had no family left, yet she was so close all along. My encounters and earnest efforts had finally paid off for my daughter. I realized the importance of trust in relationships. Hard work eventually pays off, becoming a tool to help oneself and loved ones in unexpected ways. And then, there's me with no desire for promotion, and my daughter with her high aspirations. Though our thoughts differ, our sincerity in wanting the best for the company is undeniable. That's why we should continue living honestly according to our beliefs. I want to live a relaxed life but will work diligently until retirement to leave some savings for my daughter. I'll respect her wishes and fully support her desire to succeed. That way, we both will surely find happiness.
Just when I was wondering what was going on, my boss, Alex, came striding over and casually patted my shoulder, saying, "Hard work, Dan, but you're fired today." Just like that, I was abruptly kicked out of the company I had served for 20 years. "Long time no see, Mr. Johnson. Actually, I just got fired," I said. At my words, Mr. Johnson, the president, was momentarily speechless. "What about the patent? If the company doesn't have my patent, it will go bankrupt. But I'm fired, so I'll take my leave." Ha ha ha. At this point, all I could do was laugh, and I heard a baffled voice from Mr. Johnson. "My name is Dan. I'm a 45-year-old office worker. Originally, I worked in a repair shop, but about 20 years ago, I became friends with a guy named Mike at a seminar. Through that connection, I joined the same company as him. I always loved assembling machines and inventing, so it was a stroke of luck to be placed in the product development department. Mike seemed to be in a decent position in a major corporation, and it was only because of his referral that I could join the company. Normally, with my level of education, I wouldn't even have been able to apply for a job there. Grateful to him, I spent 20 years working relentlessly. I built good relationships with other employees in the product development department, and before I knew it, I became the central figure in development and eventually rose to the position of a manager. Once I was in that role, everyone started coming to me with various consultations, and we began tackling more innovative and large-scale developments. As a result of our unity, several of our products won design awards, and we even created some hit products that represented the company. As long as we had that product series, the company would be secure. I'm proud of what we accomplished, and it seems the employees gained confidence too. The product development department was sailing smoothly until one day, dark clouds began to loom. There was a change in personnel, and the department head was replaced. The previous head was a good person who listened to us, but the new one was very arrogant. He wasn't interested in our research and development, focusing only on the profits they generated. He insisted on developing only such products, and if development was delayed, he would yell and force us to work overtime until we caught up. Our previously bright workplace had turned into hell, and so my confrontation with Alex began. I suggested daily operational improvements, but he would just say, "If you have time to talk about that, then work." Even if I presented new product developments, most of my proposals were ignored, and I was asked for meaningless improvements. If a proposal was accepted and moved towards productization, I was rushed to complete it, given absurd instructions, and forced to work overtime until it was done. Once we managed to release a product, and it passed inspection and was launched, all the credit and achievements were claimed by Alex. Before I knew it, everything from the authorship of the proposals to the details was rewritten by him. As a result, employee motivation plummeted, and some started leaving the company. Currently, only those who cannot resign immediately due to family or financial reasons remain. Knowing we couldn't choose to leave, Alex exploited us even more. Overtime became the norm, and we were forced to handle even his tasks. He would just give orders and leave at the regular time, leaving all the remaining work to be completed by us within the day. As a result, we continued to struggle through days handling an enormous workload with fewer staff. I approached Alex about increasing staff, but as expected, he ignored it. Only the weak ones quit. The ones who stayed should cover for them. He himself has absolutely no interest in development work, let alone involvement or assistance. Indeed, the only saving grace was that Alex, who had never been involved in development, didn't interfere. However, we are constantly demanded to produce high-quality products and proposals. No matter how good the products we create, they end up being taken over by him, a fact that is silently driving the staff to despair. Feeling exploited and hopeless, watching my colleagues becoming increasingly haggard day by day, I wondered what I should do. At this rate, the product development department will fall apart. The skills of those who have worked so hard up to this point are high. Honestly, they could probably make it in another company, but finding a new job takes time, and resigning voluntarily means a reduced severance. Besides, I doubt Alex would let them resign normally. That fear has led many to resign themselves to staying. Sure, we receive a salary, but considering the overtime, it's not worth it. Moreover, despite working beyond regular hours, Alex seems to be covering up that fact. Perhaps the only option is to speak directly to high-ups, but that's a last resort. I have many grievances against Alex, but I care about this company and don't want to escalate things and tarnish its image. Does he really want to turn his own company into a black company by enforcing such unpaid overtime? His actions could damage the company. If rumors spread, it would be more than just a departmental issue. It could severely harm the entire company and lead to many job losses. How did someone like him become a manager? I love this company and my job, but I can't agree with prioritizing seniority over merit. Actually, people unrelated to the work like him, being in major roles and exploiting employee achievements is happening. I'm not against the old ways and methods, but there are certainly harmful traditions that still exist. Alex's favorite saying is, back in the day, this was all normal. It's standard for junior colleagues to respect their superiors, right? He exudes arrogance that might have been acceptable in the past. I wish you would realize that times have changed, and someone needs to say that. Maybe that someone should be me. I steeled myself and decided to have a proper conversation with Alex. So, what do you want? That day, I called Alex to the conference room. He obviously didn't hide his annoyance but agreed to talk. I have a business dinner later. I'm not as free as you guys, Alex said, laughing. But we're not free either. In fact, we're cutting back on sleep because of you. Alex, you really need to change your behavior. Do you realize what you're doing could be illegal? Ha! What are you talking about? You guys are choosing to work overtime? I never forced or recommended it. I was utterly disgusted by his blatant lies. Doesn't he realize that if someone sues, the company could be in crisis? The staff is at their limit. Please return the achievements and rights you've taken from them. I pleaded deeply, but all I got in return was his loud, mocking laughter. What are you talking about? You should be happy to work under me. You like your job. That's why you don't quit, right? That can't be true. Everyone's at their breaking point. Do you intend to ruin this department? If it collapses over this, then so be it. With that, Alex brushed past me and left the room. I never thought communication with him would be this impossible. I let out a heavy sigh. I have to report this to the higher-ups somehow. Reluctantly, I worked overtime with the staff that day before heading home. The next day, as I entered the office thinking of ways to have a serious talk with upper management, all eyes of the employees were on me. Just when I was wondering what was going on, Alex walked up to me and casually patted my shoulder, saying, "Hard work, Dan, but you were fired today." And just like that, I was abruptly kicked out of the company I had served for 20 years. Holding my bag, I left the building in shock, and after a while, anger started to bubble up inside me. I took out my cell phone and called a certain number. "It's been a while, Dan. It's rare to get a call from you." The person on the other end was Mike, the one who had invited me to join this company. I should tell him what happened. "Long time no see, Mr. Johnson. Actually, I just got fired." At my words, Mr. Johnson, the president, was momentarily speechless. "What about the patent? If the company doesn't have my patent, it will go bankrupt. But I'm fired, so I will take my leave." All I could do was laugh, and I heard a baffled voice from Mr. Johnson. Then I had to make a beeline back to the company I had just left. Mr. Johnson had called me into his office. "What in the world is going on? Can you explain it to me?" Sitting across from him on the sofa, I took a sip of the coffee he offered. "Mr. Johnson, what was your intention in appointing Alex as head of product development? I did approve it, but I thought there wouldn't be any problems. Was it because of seniority?" At my question, Mr. Johnson quietly nodded. "Well, it's a tradition, you know, promoting someone without any issues." Was he really someone without any issues? What exactly happened in the product development department? Mr. Johnson became serious as I questioned him. I then reported everything that had happened in detail. He listened to my words quietly without interrupting. After I finished, he apologized. "I had no idea it had gotten to this point. I'm really sorry." "There's no need for you to apologize, Mr. Johnson." "Well, indeed, some responsibility lies with you." "That's right. As the president of this company, I am responsible for the actions of my employees." With a sigh, Mr. Johnson dropped his shoulders. "If such things are happening under my watch, it means I have failed in leadership. Moreover, to fire you— Yes, it was too reckless, especially not knowing about your patents. It was an emotional decision that put the company in jeopardy." I said in a tone of disbelief. "Alex probably fired me to set an example, but as someone who has been involved in product development for 20 years, I hold several patents. If I leave, the loss to the company would be immeasurable. Especially if I were to join a rival company, it would be catastrophic. Alex exposed the company to risk just to flaunt his power. Such childish and thoughtless actions gave me a headache." But Mr. Johnson seemed to have a different view. "Indeed, Alex's performance as a manager has been good, but I haven't heard of any extraordinary achievements." Looking me straight in the eyes, he continued, "In fact, since he became manager, there have been many complaints about the increase in resignations. Issues like overtime and taking credit for others' work are news to me. Indeed, the high number of resignations must have been apparent. But where did all the plans and awards that I thought Alex had monopolized go? From the company's side, bonuses and awards are supposed to go to the proposers, not Alex. But you guys haven't received them, have you?" Mr. Johnson asked me, seeking confirmation, and I shook my head firmly. "No. If we had received those, many of the staff who resigned might have stayed, especially the younger and more capable ones who couldn't endure the environment and left. It's a significant loss." Factional strife. Why does it always come to this? "What do you mean?" I asked Mr. Johnson about the true meaning behind his words. It seems there was a factional struggle when Mr. Johnson was appointed to his position against another presidential candidate. The upper management was split in half, creating a tense atmosphere. Alex belonged to the faction of Mr. Johnson's rival. When Mr. Johnson won the struggle and became the CEO, his opponent left the company. Having little connection with the upper management, I was unaware of such conflicts within the company. Well, I might have heard rumors but never paid much attention to them, nor was I involved. I was just happy that my benefactor had become the CEO. Mr. Johnson, you think the factional struggle is still relevant? Probably my rival left the company and now works for a competitor. Mr. Johnson's words made me realize something. The employees who resigned were probably poached by the rival company. I see, so Alex's tyrannical behavior was for that purpose. So Alex is connected to the other company. Not just him, there must be several people in significant positions involved, keeping it from reaching my ears. It was odd that such blatant injustice had occurred without any rumors reaching the upper management. Someone was manipulating and hiding the information. They are likely connected with the rival company, trying to bring down ours from the inside. A betrayal of our own company. But why would someone in a managerial position take such actions? Those connected probably have arrangements to be re-employed with good positions at the rival company if ours goes bankrupt. That's terrible. If our company collapses, many will lose their jobs, and even subcontractors will be affected. Yet they, such a cunning and cowardly way to destroy a company and ensure only those involved have secure jobs is appalling. They probably wanted you to resign, Nan. You've contributed much more to our company than they anticipated, so they fired you? So they made up a reason to fire me because I wouldn't resign. Yes, as I said before, you hold the patents. If you leave, it would be a tremendous loss for us. Mr. Johnson continued, frowning. The plan was likely to poach you after you left. I can't believe it. I think it's true. You'd probably have received an offer within a few days. That explains the sudden firing. It's frustrating to think they expected me to easily sway, but I wouldn't sell out everything to a rival company, at least not while Mr. Johnson is still here. I wouldn't let my patents go to another company. They probably never considered that. Indeed, you've been underestimated. Good thing you're a man of integrity, Dan. Mr. Johnson's face finally relaxed, having been tense all this time. Anyway, I have no intention of approving your dismissal. If any such documents are submitted, I'll handle it immediately. So, does that mean I'm not fired? Of course, I want to build this company together with you. Mr. Johnson's words finally allowed me to feel truly relieved. With that, I knew what had to be done. It looks like we need a major cleanup, he said with a calm smile, though his eyes burned with anger. From there, it was a race against time. While Alex and his crew still believed I was fired, Mr. Johnson gathered trusted employees and executives to share information. Together, we uncovered numerous discrepancies and gathered evidence. Mr. Johnson's prediction that Alex and his team would let their guard down after they thought they had achieved their goal of firing me was correct. The product development department seemed despondent after my departure, but Alex was in high spirits, leaving on time for a dinner meeting. We identified the executives and employees who went to the same location. While they were enjoying their banquet, we gathered solid evidence of illicit document removal and tampering. A considerable amount of funds and personnel were involved, and we discovered that technology had been leaked to a rival company. Now all that was left was to use this evidence to completely cleanse the company of its rot. Then came Monday. Some employees and executives who came to work turned pale as they heard the unexpected decrees from Mr. Johnson at the morning assembly. What do you mean I'm fired? Alex erupted. Others who received the same fate of dismissal, transfer, or demotion joined in his uproar. Their cries of unjust treatment and threats of lawsuits were met with my scoff. What? Why are you here? You were fired. Alex noticed me and started to make a fuss, but Mr. Johnson interrupted him. I don't recall approving that. Who exactly gave you the authority to fire Dan? That is Alex's. Eyes darted around, but no one met his gaze. Some major employees were conspicuously avoiding eye contact. Most likely it was that employee who processed my dismissal. Alex thought bitterly. Well, as for the unjust personal matter, let's explain the reasons for these personal changes and dismissals right here, Mr. Johnson said. Upon hearing this, the clamoring crowd turned pale. Some were caught by the security guards while attempting to physically attack the president in their rage. Before I knew it, the guards from the security company we contracted were strategically placed to suppress any potential riot. The employees who were unaware of the situation were initially frightened by the atmosphere. As the president started to explain the recent events, the room quieted down. Eventually, as they learned the whole story, their anger turned towards those who had betrayed the company, especially the product development department, which had been thoroughly trampled upon, was seething with rage. Their glares pierced Alex with the intensity of their long-held grievances. Realizing the depth of their resentment, Alex was visibly shaken and trembling. He probably understood better than anyone the depth of their hatred. Facing such murderous and scornful stares would unnerve anyone. Although there was no intention of pressing criminal charges, the company was prepared to sue them if they claimed unjust dismissal. Seemingly resigned to their fate, Alex and those involved in the wrongdoing slumped in defeat, some even collapsing to their knees and sobbing. It was a pitiful sight, but I felt no sympathy. They had brought this upon themselves. With their schemes exposed and their dismissals finalized, it was doubtful whether the rival company would still take them in. Still, some of them might have been hoping to find re-employment somewhere else. Personally, I doubted the reliability of a person who would cold-heartedly use and discard others in such a scheme. Regardless, the hellish days since Alex's appointment had come to an end like this, and so I returned to the product development department. Considering the future, the staff welcomed me back with open arms as I was promoted. The department, having lost many people and feeling quite empty, finally regained a peaceful and healthy working environment. New staff were to be recruited, but surprisingly, many of the employees who had resigned and not found jobs elsewhere returned, much to our delight. Apparently, they had been approached by the rival company but sensed something suspicious about the timing and declined. They were even threatened in some cases and had advised others planning to leave that it was better not to go to such a company. Fewer employees than we expected ended up going to the rival company. Some, including Alex, managed to find new jobs after their dismissal, but were apparently being worked hard as regular employees. In the end, there probably wasn't a high position left for those who had failed in their plan. Still, the fact that many employees who were well acquainted with our internal affairs had gone to the rival company was a significant blow to us. However, considering that we had eradicated the spread of corruption within the company, it was something we had to accept. Being able to continue working at a company I like, doing the job I love, for me, just being able to regain that everyday life is enough. Mr. Johnson, though known for his gentle and kind demeanor, was not someone to be taken lightly. Once the initial cleanup was over and as we approached the time to welcome new recruits, he reviewed and made significant reforms in the company's traditions. He thoroughly enforced compliance and transformed the system into a healthy and motivating environment where those with skills and achievements could advance. In the process, we reevaluated the direction of our products, rendering the information held by the employees who moved to the rival company almost worthless. Mr. Johnson, known for his calm and kind demeanor, gained renewed respect from many employees through the series of mass firings and new reforms. Some executives who had underestimated him now viewed his leadership with a sense of awe. Thus, our company grew, and a few years later became renowned as a major corporation.
What are you doing here now? It's too late. Don't ever come back, you incompetent fool. Henry's words, as the director's son and an elite doctor, are absolute in this hospital. If I had been able to attend the meeting, my statements could have quelled the embezzlement accusations against Henry. Still, I raised an objection. Did you expect me to attend while ignoring a woman who had an accident? If you think my actions were wrong, I can't continue working at this hospital. A little away from the conference room, Megan was standing with a remorseful look on her face. I'm really sorry. It's all my fault. It's okay. I'll just find another job. I escorted Megan to the hospital parking lot. Right then, about 20 luxury cars started pulling into the lot one after another. Tyler, do you have some time now? There's a place I'd like you to accompany me to. My name is Tyler. I'm a male nurse turning 40 this year. I've been working at Smith General Hospital for nearly 20 years and am recognized as a seasoned veteran. There's another clerk named Mr. Williams, so people often call me by my first name, Tyler. The job is tough, but I find it very rewarding and enjoy interacting with the patients. When they express their gratitude to me, it really boosts my motivation. On the surface, my days might seem fulfilling, but I do have concerns. I still feel young at heart, but talking about age sometimes makes me a bit gloomy. My main concern is that I'm turning 40 and still single with no romantic prospects. Working in a predominantly female environment, I can't use lack of opportunities as an excuse. Among the female nurses, my presence is seen as. Tyler lacks a certain masculine aura. I've never thought of him as a man. That's right, he blends in with us women too much. But as a coworker, he's fantastic. That's how it went. They sound like compliments, but they're not at all. In short, I lack appeal as a man. Surely you can't work as a nurse exuding pheromones all the time. Now that I'm nearing 40, I'm also worried about my receding hairline. I have a muscular build and think my body is okay, but my thinning hair often makes me look over 40, which is quite shocking. I guess women prefer young, handsome guys. Who'd want to date a balding 40-year-old? I complain to myself, but it doesn't change anything. To maintain at least my physique, I diligently go to the gym. So here I am still living with my mother, who raised me alone. At Smith General Hospital, the director, John Smith, is the second-generation head because it's a family-run business. If any member of the Smith family is displeased, our positions are at risk. John's son, Henry, is a 35-year-old elite surgeon with his future as the director guaranteed. He always struts around the hospital like he owns the place. According to a clerk who has known Henry since childhood, he was always a cheeky kid, even to adults. If Henry gives an order, no matter how unreasonable, doctors and nurses must obey. The best way to avoid trouble is to keep a low profile and live quietly. That day, I was measuring the blood pressure of Jessica, a woman in her 70s who had been admitted 2 days ago. Jessica was a cheerful and talkative person, and her presence instantly brightened the room. I love people like Jessica, who can light up the atmosphere just by being there. I couldn't help but join in the patient gossip. Jessica, why were you admitted? You seem so healthy. What are you talking about? 2 days ago, I almost kicked the bucket. I've sworn off beefsteak for life. Jessica, it's not the beefsteak that's the problem. Please don't eat food past its expiration date just because you live alone. Okay, I got it. The doctor scolded me, saying, "How many times has this happened? Oh, by the way, do you know there's a strange rumor about the young doctor here?" The young doctor probably refers to Henry. What's going on with Dr. Smith? A neighbor who was recently discharged said they were forced to give a gift. Aren't doctors not supposed to accept such things? That was an unsettling story. Gifts and gratuities are a common topic at any hospital. Some doctors accept such under-the-table gifts, while others staunchly refuse them. However, it's a problem if patients are coerced into giving money or goods. As I came to this point in my thoughts, I snapped back to reality. It's best not to do anything that would draw Henry's attention. Acting on a sense of justice might cost me my job. I replied vaguely, "Is that so, huh?" and did not pursue the topic further. A few days later, I was on night duty. In the dark corridors, I saw someone sneaking out of the director's office. I pointed my flashlight and shouted, "Who's there?" To my surprise, it was Henry. "Oh, Tyler, you're on night duty. Thanks for your hard work," he said. "What are you doing here at this hour and in the director's office?" "I just forgot something and came back to get it. I'll be heading home now. Keep up the good work," he said, and hurried down the corridor. The next day, I was called by the head nurse, Anna. "Tyler, you were on night duty last night, right? Did you see anything unusual, like someone coming out of the director's office?" I replied casually, "Oh yes, I saw Henry coming out of the director's office." I knew it. I had a feeling something was off. There's a rumor that Henry is embezzling funds. This morning, accounting reported discrepancies in the finances. Despite my efforts to avoid Henry, I had stumbled into trouble. That afternoon, I was summoned to Henry's office. "What can I do for you?" I asked. Henry sat at his desk, grinning, and handed me a thick envelope. "There's $2,000 in here. Change your testimony for me, will you?" At first, I didn't understand. Testimony. "Oh, you mean about seeing you outside the director's office last night?" "Yes. There's a meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. you'll be asked to attend. I want you to say you were mistaken and didn't see me. Is $2,000 not enough?" I was caught up in something unpleasant. I wanted to escape, but that wasn't an option. "Do you think saying it was a mistake will suffice?" I asked. "You could say you saw someone else or that you were sleepy and dreaming. Just make sure I don't get implicated." "So, I need to play dumb. Getting more involved could be disastrous." "All right, I'll testify that way, but I don't need the $2,000. "Fine. If you don't want it, just make sure you testify correctly." I nodded and silently left Henry's office. Just as Henry said, Anna called me that afternoon and told me to attend the meeting at 2 p.m. the next day. At that time, I had no intention of acting on my sense of justice or betraying Henry. The day of the meeting arrived. I wasn't on shift that day, so I only needed to be at the hospital by 2 p.m. Since my place isn't far from the hospital. I usually walk for about 30 minutes for my health. That day, I was walking to the hospital with a heavy heart. Suddenly, a red car sped past me, swerved, and crashed into a utility pole. The bumper flew off, and I saw the airbags deploy. Oh no, this is bad. I looked around, but no one else was there. I rushed over to the car. Are you okay? Are you hurt? The driver was a woman with long hair, conscious but in shock. I prioritized getting her out of the car and opened the unlocked door. Here, grab on. Let's get away from the car. She extended her arm, and I carefully helped her out and guided her to the side of the road. I gently seated her on the sidewalk on the opposite side of the car. Are you all right? Any injuries? Let me check your pulse. I took her wrist and checked her pulse with practiced ease. It's stabilizing. Do you have a headache or blurred vision? She shook her head slightly. I couldn't sleep at all last night. I shouldn't have been driving while sleep deprived. I could only smile wryly and say, well, everyone has their reasons, but it's best to avoid it. Though she seemed uninjured, she was clearly in shock. That was terrifying. It's my first accident. I should call the police, right? Yes, that's right. Fortunately, no one else was involved, so there's not too much to worry about. She looked at me anxiously and asked, will you stay with me? I nodded as she dialed 911. I realized she looked familiar. The police will be here in about 10 minutes. By the way, I'm Megan. I'm usually a model for Paris Fashion Week. Driving here is so different from back in France. The speeds, the spacing, it's all different. Sorry, I guess that's just an excuse. A model for Paris Fashion Week. Someone I'd never expect to meet. You work as a model overseas. That's amazing. I think I've seen you somewhere before. Megan blushed slightly and smiled at me. I appear in ice cream commercials in the States. Maybe that's where you've seen me. Yes, the ice cream commercials. They're so memorable. Is that really you? I got excited, my voice cracking a bit. Seeing my reaction, Megan seemed to finally calm down and smiled slightly. I'm not wearing any makeup, so it's hard to recognize me, and causing such an accident is so embarrassing. I had always thought she was incredibly beautiful in those commercials with her mysterious aura. No, you look beautiful even without makeup, I said. I'm Tyler. I work as a nurse at Smith General Hospital just down the road. Megan, now fully calm, handled the police well when they arrived. I gave my statement as a witness. After the car was towed away and everything was settled, I checked my watch. It was already 3:00 p.m. Looking at my phone, I saw multiple missed calls from Henry right up until just before 2:00 p.m. I hadn't noticed them because my phone was on silent mode. I hurriedly called back, but his phone was off. Still in the meeting. What should I do? Can I still make it to the meeting? I thought. I'm so sorry, you had an important meeting, didn't you? I'll testify that it wasn't your fault. Let's head to the hospital now, Megan said. I thanked her sincerely, and we hurried to the hospital. When we arrived, the conference room door opened, and the doctors started filing out. I spotted a doctor I was friendly with and quietly asked, is the meeting over? Yes. Without your testimony, Henry got a 3-month salary reduction. You could say he got off lightly. And you were fired for not attending the meeting, he replied. As I stood there in shock, Henry was the last to leave the conference room. When he saw me, he glared with an intense expression. What are you doing here now? It's too late. Don't ever come back, you incompetent fool, Henry said. Henry's words, as the director's son and an elite doctor, were absolute in this hospital. I should have made it by 2:00 p.m., but I came across a woman who had an accident and got delayed giving a statement. If I had attended the meeting, my testimony could have cleared the embezzlement accusations against Henry, I explained. I don't want to see your face. Get out, Henry shouted. Was it really necessary to attend while leaving the woman who had the accident unattended? If you say my actions were wrong, then I cannot work at this hospital, I said. Megan was waiting near the conference room, but now her explanation wouldn't change anything. I'll quit this place on my own terms, I said. Thank you for everything. Then I turned and walked toward the exit. Outside the conference room, Megan stood with a regretful expression. I'm so sorry. It's all my fault, she said. It's okay. I'll just find another job. Sorry for involving you. Did you have plans? Should I call a cab? I asked. No, I called someone to pick me up. Tyler, could you walk with me to the parking lot? She replied. I walked beside Megan to the hospital parking lot. Suddenly, several black luxury cars started arriving. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many are there? I counted and saw a total of 20 luxury cars pulling into the parking lot. What is this? Does it take this many cars to pick up a model? I asked. Megan looked puzzled. For shoots, photographers and staff travel in separate cars. It's normal for 10 cars to show up. Oh, I see. That's how it is, I thought, realizing Megan's world was entirely different from mine. Tyler, do you have time? There's somewhere I'd like you to go with me, Megan asked. Sure, I guess. I wasn't planning to job hunt today anyway, I replied. Megan smiled brightly and said, Thank you. A man who got out of one of the cars had a powerful physique, but what surprised me most was that he was wearing a black tuxedo. Please hurry, it's about to start, he said. Got it, Megan replied. Megan got into one car. When I was about to follow, a burly man pointed me to another car, saying, You go that way. Once inside, the car started smoothly. The interior was surprisingly spacious. Please change into this, he said, handing me a black tuxedo like his. I was reluctant but realized blending in would help me not stand out. As I finished changing, I noticed the outside noise growing. Traffic was controlled, and the car moved according to the instructions of the security guards outside. Eventually, the car stopped, and the door opened. Outside, Megan, in a gorgeous crimson dress, stood smiling. She took my hand. We're filming a commercial. I'm walking the red carpet at an event in New York. When I told them about you, they thought it would be interesting for you to join. Is that okay? She asked. What? Me in a commercial? No way. I'll ruin it, I protested. Then, a short man, presumably the director, appeared beside Megan. Don't worry. We'll only film you from behind. You're in good shape. We initially planned for you to be an extra, but now I'd like you to escort Megan, he said. I felt so embarrassed that I wanted to disappear. Please give me a break. I won't be able to watch TV ever again, I pleaded. We'll just show a glimpse of your back. Please, the male model we had scheduled got sick and can't make it. Please, Tyler, we'll make sure no one recognizes you. Just help us out. I thought it over for a moment. Commercials are only a few seconds long anyway. If only my back is shown, hardly anyone would recognize me unless they know me very well. More importantly, if I could help Megan, I wanted to. All right, I'll do it. What followed was a series of firsts for me. We shot the same scene repeatedly with multiple cameras. Each cut was reviewed with Megan, and they promised to use only the ones I approved. Every time the director called action, Megan would hold my hand firmly and walk the red carpet with me as if we were a couple. Even though it was just a series of small actions, fulfilling the director's requests was exhausting. When the shoot was finally over, the director presented Megan with a bouquet of roses. Megan handed the bouquet to me. Tyler, thank you so much for today. I don't want this to be the last time we meet, so can we exchange phone numbers? She's not just a pretty face. She's a model representing America at Paris Fashion Week. We exchanged numbers and registered each other on WhatsApp. When I got home with the bouquet, my mother was shocked. A friend gave it to me, I explained. She didn't ask for details and quietly put the bouquet in a vase. The next morning, with nothing else to do, I watched TV. Maybe because I was thinking about it, Megan's ice cream commercial kept airing. I wondered when the commercial we shot yesterday would start airing. It was just 30 seconds, but for that brief time, I got to be Megan's boyfriend. Those few hours, like a bubble that popped in my otherwise quiet life, were unforgettable. As I sorted through a stack of newspapers on the table, I found an ad. Megan smiled mysteriously in the ad. My mother suddenly peeked over my shoulder. She's beautiful, isn't she? Isn't she the model who's making a name for herself in Paris? You know her, Mom? I saw her in a documentary. She didn't grow up in a privileged environment but succeeded through sheer determination. Her eyes were so lively, that's why I remember her. I bet she went through a lot that wasn't covered in the documentary. As a fellow American, I hope she continues to do well. I nodded in agreement with my mother's words. Around 11 o'clock a.m., Megan called. "Good morning, Tyler. Thank you so much for yesterday. The commercial won't air for a while, but please look forward to it." "Thank you too. I was grateful to experience such a glamorous world. I was deeply moved by the hard work behind the beautiful scenes." "Thank you, Tyler. I'm glad to hear that from you. Meeting you and creating such memorable footage made yesterday special." "A special day indeed. It's okay to have a dreamlike day once in a while." Megan will return to her glamorous life in Paris eventually. She will probably forget about me. I need to focus on finding a new job at another hospital. As I was thinking this, Megan said, "To celebrate our special day, how about we have dinner together sometime?" "What kind of food do you like, Tyler?" I was genuinely surprised. "What? You want to meet again, Megan? I'm turning 40 this year. I'm just an old guy." "Oh, that's a wonderful age. Aren't men in their 40s at their prime as a man? So, Tyler, are you going to turn down an invitation from a Paris Fashion Week model?" So, 3 nights later, I found myself having dinner with Megan at a high-end restaurant. That afternoon, I received a call from Henry on my phone. I thought about ignoring it but decided to answer, thinking it would be the last time. "When did you get to know Megan?" "My friend saw you with her during some shoot." It's true, the shoot had blocked off a major road downtown, and many onlookers had seen us. "Introduce me to Megan. I've been a fan of hers for a long time." I listened to Henry's ranting with a sense of detachment. Because of him, I lost my job. This was the perfect chance for some payback. "Oh, you're a fan. But I can't introduce you to her." "Why not?" "If it's about you getting fired, I'll talk to my dad and fix it. I don't think someone like you deserves a wonderful woman like Megan." "What the hell did you just say? Remember, I was the one who kept quiet about seeing you come out of the director's office that night. I know you're the one embezzling funds. I can't introduce someone like you to Megan." With that, I hung up. I felt incredibly satisfied. Now, what should I wear for my date in 3 days? I called a fashion-savvy friend for advice. He spent a day taking me to various boutiques, finding the perfect outfit for the date. "Finally, we need to fix your hair. Your wide forehead stands out. Let's talk to a stylist and make you a stylish gentleman." I usually just got quick haircuts at a barber shop, so I was hesitant about going to a trendy salon. But knowing I was going on a date with a Paris Fashion Week model, I endured it. You can't hide it, so let's go with a very short cut, close to a buzz cut. It won't make your forehead noticeable. Don't worry, I'll cut it just right. When I got home after the makeover, my mother didn't recognize me at first. The date 3 days later was a huge success. The food was exquisite, and Megan was all smiles. Wanting to thank her, I splurged on a famous grand pendant and gave it to her. Megan was thrilled. "Thank you, Tyler. This pendant is lovely. Could you put it on me?" Nervously, I went behind her and fastened the clasp. Her perfume made me dizzy. As we talked, I learned more about Megan's life. She preferred older men, but her relationships often didn't work out. All the men I like are usually already married. She often fell for men in their late 30s to 40s, leading to frequent heartbreak. At 40, I was her ideal age. When I first saw you, it felt like a prince had come to save me. I was both surprised and embarrassed. No woman had ever looked at me that way before. "I'd like you to invite me out next time." Feeling like I was in a dream, we left the restaurant and walked through the night city, parting ways at a taxi stand. 4 days later, Megan called me. "I'm planning to make America my base. I'll still go to Paris, but I'm giving up my apartment there. I want to be with you more. Don't sacrifice your career just to be with me. It's not right, Megan. To achieve my true dream, I need you." "What's your true dream?" "I'm a 28-year-old woman. Do I have to spell it out?" I was at a loss for words. Soon, rumors spread about Megan having a handsome bald boyfriend. I received several interview requests, surprising my mother and making me bolder. I began to realize that Megan was indeed my girlfriend. As we went on more dates, I discovered that Megan had a fairly down-to-earth side. On our first date, she said she still had her guard up and couldn't completely relax. Since I wasn't wealthy, we often had inexpensive dates like going for barbecue or visiting antique markets. When my birthday came, Megan gave me a gift, and I was able to accept it gratefully. The wrapping paper and box looked familiar. When I opened it, I found it was the same pendant with an M that I had given Megan, but this one had a T on it. Thank you, Megan. I'll treasure it. I have an idea. I'll give you my M pendant, and you give me your T. That way, we can always feel connected to each other. That's a great idea. Let's do that. It felt like a sacred ritual. Megan placed the M pendant around my neck, and I put the T pendant around hers. I was now accustomed to her perfume, and its pleasant scent remained the same. I wondered what our lives would be like by my next birthday. After being fired from Smith General Hospital, I found a job at a new clinic. It was Megan's regular clinic, frequented by many celebrities incognito. Soon, those celebrities began referring to me as Megan's boyfriend. I started working at a clinic with a luxurious atmosphere and beautifully clean interiors, and I could see myself becoming more refined. I also found the tasks I was entrusted with to be very rewarding. As for Smith General Hospital, I was able to hear about its current state from a former colleague who still works there. Henry continued his embezzling, causing headaches for the accounting department. I should follow Tyler's example and leave. That hospital has no future. It's big, but if something happens to the director, Henry will take over, and the hospital will quickly go downhill. Soon after, my colleague left for another hospital. Then Henry made a bigger mistake. A medical error. He accidentally instructed that the wrong medication be added to a city councilman's IV drip. The city councilman was in critical condition for a while. The blame quickly fell on Henry, causing a scandal. The councilman sued, and the hospital had to pay a hefty settlement, leading to its bankruptcy. The doctors and nurses who worked there were able to transfer safely to other hospitals, but no hospital was willing to hire Henry, who had committed a medical error. He now lives quietly in the same mansion as his father. A year later, Megan held a press conference with fashion magazine journalists to announce our marriage. Of course, I was her fiancé. Megan drew a portrait of me and showed it to the cameras. Most of the reporters already knew my face, and they laughed, saying it didn't look much like me. We had a small wedding in Hawaii, inviting only close friends and family. It was my mother's first trip on a plane, and I think it made her happy. Even though Megan is a top model, making our marriage somewhat of a mismatch, I am proud of who I am. I will continue to work hard, supporting Megan so she can enjoy her career to the fullest.